This is a brand new series, and here I'm going to talk about JavaScript development using VS Code. And I'll start from very basic. Start from a blank machine and install the Visual Studio Code, install the necessary components, show you some of the shortcut keys which you might need while doing that. And then we'll build a simple Node.js application and then probably move into the React side of the story. So it's a series with a lot of small videos that's planned. And my name is Riju, and I work for Microsoft as a cloud solution architect. And this is my Twitter handle. You can reach out to me in Twitter by sending me a private message, or you can also tweet me for my attention or any clarification you might need. So let's begin. So I've got a brand new machine, virtual machine created, and that doesn't have anything installed so far. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to this code.visualstudio.com website and then download it for Windows because this is Windows. And the Visual Studio Code basically can run on Linux and macOS. So if you are using any one of these three kind of operating system, you can install the Visual Studio Code. So you in Linux, you need the desktop mode or the UI mode to be able to run the Visual Studio Code over there. Now you can see that it is downloaded and it's only 78 MB file. Okay, that's fairly small in size. I just go ahead and double click the file and it'll start installing this. So it's asking me to go ahead and install it in an admin mode. I will agree to that and I hit next. And I put it in the start menu, next. I'll create a desktop icon, open with code. So whenever you right click on a file, it should show and register code as a supported file system and add to path. All of them will be configured for me. I don't have to do anything. So I took all the uh, default setting in my installation process, and while it is getting installed and it's pretty fast, and because it is nothing much in that, it will not take very long time. So I can just go ahead and say that go ahead and launch my Visual Studio Code. Now the Visual Studio Code will launch in front of me. You can see that this is a simple editor. Looks pretty fast. And then I can change the color theme also. So let me change it to light theme, which is good for demo, but for regular usage, I prefer to use the dark theme, right? So you can change the theme, you can do all sort of things. So we'll look into those things a little later, but this is how the Visual Studio Code looks like when you open it for the first time, right? What I wanted to highlight over here is that some of the areas. So the first one, when you open a file or folder, it'll show you those individual elements. There is a search option available. So if you want to search something, and then the source control, which is integrated to the Visual Studio Code, is also showing up, and the run and debug option and an extension. So the extension is the most important part of it. Before we install or configure anything to our Visual Studio Code, what I wanted to also tell you is that you can log into this Visual Studio Code using your Get credential. So if you click on that and then you say turn on the sync setting and I say turn on, it asking me to sign in. And then you can sign in using your Microsoft ID, the ID like Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, all of them will work if you configure them as a Microsoft ID. And then you can also use GitHub. So either of these two can work, which means that if you, let's say, continue working on a machine for a long time and set things up, you if you log in using the same credential in another machine, it will bring you in all those extensions which you have used over there, right? So it's fairly easy for you to really carry forward your good things into another brand new machine. So always do that. Always sync your setting with a login. Right now, we're not doing it, right? So this is the first time we open the Visual Studio Code. Let us close this. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to this documents folder maybe, and then I will basically, there is nothing much over there. You can see that it's a, it's a fresh machine, so there is no document created so far. So let me do one thing. Let me go ahead and create a new folder. So I'll say review, and then I go inside that folder, and I will open the Visual Studio for this folder. So there are multiple ways to do it. You can go to the Visual Studio and say open folder. You can keep a Visual Studio open and drag the folder on top of the Visual Studio, or you can do it from command prompt. So let's say if you are in command prompt, Windows, and then you say that, you notice here what I'm typing, I'm inside that same folder which I just now have created within documents folder. And then if I say that I want to now uh, open the code editor for this folder, I say code space dot. If I do that, then the Visual Studio Code will open and then will point to this folder. And it's very convenient. Now it is asking me whether I trust this folder, right? You should be careful when you are opening the folder. So it's just a notification. I definitely trust this folder. So there is no harm kind of using this folder. So you can see that now this folder is showing up, right? There is no file right now at this point in time. So if I go ahead and say I want to create a new JavaScript file, let's say server.js, okay? If I create that, you can see that nice JS kind of icon is showing up. If I, let's say, want to increase the view of this Visual Studio Code, I can say Control plus icon, and it shows up in that basically zooms the Visual Studio viewable in the monitor better, right? So I can just reduce the size of this sidebar and then have this. So this is my JavaScript file, right? That's a simple JavaScript. So I can say that hey, const a equals to 10, and that's how the color and everything you can see that it's all clearly visible. So I'll say alert, and then that's something like that. So you can see that this seems okay. Now, when you work on things like HTML, things like CSS, where you might need a little bit of preview of what you are working on, you may want to do it over here. So you can actually go ahead and create a new file and say home.html. So if you work on HTML file and I say that, hey, I want to say h1 tag, you can see that's also giving me statement completion. I create home. I have an option to really open the editor, close the editor. So I'll keep this HTML open, close remaining one. And then what I'm going to also do and quickly show you, this is a must have that you must enable autosave. So by doing that, anything you write will be saved and you don't have to keep on saving changes. So it keeps on saving on behalf of you, right? That's a very handy feature, I must say. Now let's install our first extension. To install the extension, you can either use Control Shift X or you can come to this icon and it will show up the list of extensions available to you. So you can see there are thousands of extensions available today. Depending on the thing you work, you will choose your extension. And the HTML preview is something which is pretty handy. If I go ahead and say that I want to install this in extension, it's fairly easy. If it is not installed, it will show you the install button in the detail pane, and then you just go ahead and install. That's done. You're done with this installation process, and as soon as you're done, that the new icon shows up over here called preview, and that shows the output of that HTML file you are working on. And this is a live view, which means that if you say home page, and it shows immediately, right? And if you say tag P, this is a demo for HTML preview extension. So it shows you what you are doing. So like this, there are a bunch of such options available which allow you to do this kind of thing, right? Now it gets saved automatically, right? You don't have to save it. If you anytime want to go to this folder and see what is that folder looks like actually in the Windows. So this is my folder. Now you can see that these are two files, HTML and JavaScript. Let us also add the extension. So that's the full name of the file, how it looks like. So my Visual Studio Code is ready for development. And in next, we'll see how we can install the necessary library and runtime for JavaScript development. Okay, thank you very much and have a wonderful day.